These are all the projects I've made over the past 4 years. These are the choruses, the melodies, verses I've made, then trashed. A week later, I go back and they're not good enough. These are the songs I loved when I wrote. I brought them into Logic, sat down, and recorded them. Then I spent every waking hour creating the production behind them, adding synths, arranging the other instruments, building the drum beats, recording and re-recording the vocals until they're just perfect. 50, 60, 100 different tracks. These are those unfinished songs. I say unfinished because they were never released. My voice sounds whiny, tingy, too indie, too weird. The drum beat is messy, the guitar is plain. What was I thinking? This is the most forgettable melody I've ever heard. Trash it. Not trashed, but they might as well be. No one has heard them. They sit on my computer. When was the last time my music brought me joy? This is not sustainable. Most people probably wouldn't see me as a perfectionist. I'm pretty laid back, pretty easygoing. But what I've come to discover is that perfectionism isn't a personality. It's a state of mind. I'm a perfectionist in the things I'm most passionate about. But isn't that a good thing? I want the things I make to be critically acclaimed, to be well received, to be accepted, to be liked, to be heard, to be listened to. In order for that to happen, it must be good. It must be perfect, right? I could say perfectionism has served me pretty well. I turned on the camera. Perfectionism taught me how to light the perfect shot, and if the video wasn't perfect, you trash it, you go back and you try again. Perfectionism pushed me in my music, that when each finished track wasn't good enough, I go back, I create again, I trash it, create something again, I trash it, the cycle goes on and on and on. But it's not a waste of time, I tell myself, because I'm getting better. It's worth the little voice at the end of each project that's telling me, not good enough. What happened? When did the art I loved so much become so self-destructive? Perfectionism is the setting of and striving for very demanding standards that are self-imposed and relentlessly pursued, despite this causing problems. It involves putting one's self-worth almost exclusively on how well these high standards are met. Somewhere in the last 10 years, the art I created morphed from the things I make to the things I am. It used to be so easy. In high school, we just make things. We put them out there, and people would watch them or they wouldn't watch them. It wasn't good, but we still just loved to make. Friends grew up and moved on, they got real jobs, and my art became my job. And people started hiring me to create for them. And then I realized I stopped creating for myself, because somewhere along the way it shifted from what I did to who I am. And so if I were to ever create something for myself that was from my brain, and it's my neck and my neck getting stuck out there, right? It had to be perfect. The trap of perfectionism begins with a low view of ourselves. We need to make up for the flaws we see in ourselves with the flawlessness of the things that we do. Dr. Keith Gaynor, he has a fantastic talk on this subject and how perfectionism leads to depression. He created this graph. We need to make up for how we see ourselves with rigid standards and high expectations. And we have 3 different outcomes, right? 1, we temporarily meet those standards. But in the back of our head, as soon as you meet that standard, what you're told is, well, duh, everyone can do that. That should have been easier. And that undermines our achievement, and that leads to self-criticism. In self-criticism, we're hard on ourselves, and that just brings our self-esteem to a lower place, and the cycle continues. Or we don't meet the standards. You failed. I could never amount to anything. or whatever thoughts we tell ourselves. That's self-criticism, which leads, again, to a lower view of ourselves. And then, third one, you just don't do it. Why even bother?
So where do I find myself on those 3 lists of outcomes? Well, I've been through all 3, definitely experienced every single one of those. And currently, in my creative process, I am on the last one, where if I'm going to put my name alone on something and risk failure, it must be perfect. If not, I won't release it. Nothing is ever good enough. So, I procrastinate.
And that, my friends, is how you get depressed.
That sucks.
In 2016, I put out an EP, like 5 songs. Just wanted to put it out for people to listen to it, right? Well, no one did. It bombed. I mean, the songs, just looking back, they're just not good. The rhythm is not good. The melodies are not good. The amount of lyrical ineptitude. I look back at that and I'm like, what were you thinking? Like, this is not... But the thing is about those 5 songs, I'm not embarrassed about them. In fact, I'm so glad I put them out. They say that nothing is ever finished, it's just released. But I think that nothing is finished until it's released. And at least I finished something. I have failed. I will fail. I will fail again. But guess what? Everyone else has to. But at least those other artists, they decided to. They made a choice. At least they tried. We write movies about it. We write stories about someone who was just normal one day. They got bit by a spider, and the next day they were saving the world. And we like for it to happen in an instant like that, right? But I think the reason the newest Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse movie was so good is the fact that he was not Spider-Man until the end of the movie. The last 15 minutes of the movie, he was Spider-Man. It took him an hour and however long for him to get to that point, to fail and fail and fail. And those are the stories that are good. Until we understand that, we will be forever governed by the perfectionist cycle. I am not what I create. I am not perfect. I am deeper. I am more complex, multifaceted. Here. Watch. Wow. Thanks for sticking around, guys. Subscribe. I'll make it a lot more of these. Also hit the like button. That does a lot. Gets me on people's recommended. Helps a ton with the YouTube algorithm. Cool. Yeah, this video took a long time. As you can tell. I'm changed. My haircut. I'm changed. Who cares? Who cares? You don't care. You don't care. But I finished it. Well, I haven't uploaded it yet. But if you're watching it, that means I uploaded it. So, there's that. But yeah, keep finishing.